Hello, how are you? My name is Chatone Morrison. I'm the host of the Getting to Actor podcast, and I want to welcome you in today. You'll notice I'm by myself. Morgan's not with me today, but that does not mean I don't have a great episode for you. Today, we're going to be talking about the reason why you're fried by four. And I'm going to tell you, it just might have a little something to do with this. I know we're all tethered to this. Morgan and I spoke about this topic last year, and it's something that continues to come up with women we speak to all the time, that they feel like they can't do without this. And look, we are in this with you. So let's go ahead and jump into this topic. I have a couple of very simple things that I'm going to share with you that I've been working on, and it's been working. So let's go ahead and get started. I love this topic, y'all, because we are all tethered. And I did say tethered to our phones. It holds our whole life. But at the same time, it could be disrupting your peace. It could be the reason why you feel fried by four. And the reason why I'm not trying to preach to anyone is because where's mine? Is right here. Like it's here. It's always right here. I'm a Gen Xer. We believe in our devices. But before we go any further, I want to ask you a question. When you pick up your phone, what's the reason? When you pick it up, did it ring? Did you hear anything? I don't think I heard anything. It didn't ring. Sometimes it's by habit. Sometimes it's intentional. Sometimes it's automatic. If you feel like you're fried all the time, that you don't have anything to give when you get back home to your family, or if you're single, you want to go to the gym, or you want to take your dog for a walk, and you want to get that feeling of it's spring, I want to feel good, and you can't because you're feeling fried. One of the reasons might be because of things that are disrupting your peace. Now, I want to start this conversation, first of all, by saying that this is not specifically a healthcare conversation. We are going to touch on a little bit of healthcare. If you have not been to your doctor recently and you're starting to have all sorts of hormonal fluctuations, if it's really getting to the point where it's disturbing you, please handle that. This is not a healthcare conversation from that perspective. We want to make sure that you feel great. Sometimes the constant input is draining you, and sometimes there's something inside that is off kilter. It could be the thyroid, it could be vitamin B, it could be vitamin D, it could be that your hormones are out of whack. A lot of things are happening. But just because you've turned 40, and we talked about this last week, just because you've turned 40 or you're in your 50s doesn't mean that the best is over. It doesn't mean that you can't feel better than you feel right now. Some things you can control and some things you can't control. And that's why this isn't a healthy conversation. We want to make sure that you go take care of that. But one of the reasons why you may not be is because of something that's disrupting you. So one First of all, it's interesting. Our phones are many things for us. They're, of course, communication, they're way we deal with our work. Many times they're entertainment as well. So many times my phone stays charged, whereas my other devices don't. So I will have my phone with a little kickstand out while I'm cooking dinner, and I may be watching Netflix. Recently, don't tell anyone, I've been rewatching Anne with an E. I absolutely love that show. It's such a low mental load, a lot of drama, but nothing really happening. And I love that for me. I really love that for me. To capacity. Let me not digress. Sometimes it's for entertainment, sometimes it's for communication, other times it's for work. But what tends to happen is a lot of things don't actually get done. Have you ever noticed that? That this is supposed to be helping us, healing us, but actually nothing's getting done. Let me give you an example. My co host Morgan recently moved to a new city and she's loving her new city. She's loving the move. But one of the things that happened was, you know how you get that box overload? You know how you just have boxes everywhere when you move and you're trying to figure out how do I get things back to normal? So she mentioned to me that she thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do it all at once. I'm going to do it all at once. I don't care. I'm going to get it all done. So she started opening boxes, taking a little bit out of this box, a little bit out of that box, a little bit out of that box. The next thing she knew, the entire new house was a disaster. She told me. I'm not telling on her. She told me. She would tell you if she were here herself. The whole house was a disaster. Why? Because she was taking a little bit out, and she was thinking it was working, and it wasn't. So she tried that for a week or two. It was something new that she thought this made it get done faster. And then she realized it did it. It did it. She had to do something else. So first, let's stick with that. Is that what you're doing? Do you find yourself, even on your phone, do you find yourself opening lots and lots and lots of windows? If you find yourself opening lots of windows and you're listening to my voice, please raise your hand. If you find yourself opening lots of tabs and the same tab, keep your hand up. If you find yourself not only having lots of tabs open and the same tabs open, can you tell me how many times you open the same tab more than once in one day? Keep your hand up. Do you see what I'm saying? So many times, what we feel is actually calming us down. We're in communication, we're able to keep track, we have lists of things and we're able to check things off. We're also opening lots of boxes and we're keeping them open. And believe it or not, that does something on a micro level to our nervous system. I'm not getting finished. What I want is to get finished, but I'm not. And I'm feeling this pressure and I don't even know where it's from. It doesn't always come from this, but it can. That's something you can control. Morgan told me that once she decided that the open all the boxes and work on it all at once wasn't working, she decided to just empty one box at a time. And it took her a couple of weeks, just one box at a time, everything in its place. Open this box, get what's done. Open that box, get what's done. And when we do that with our lives, it works the same way. Instead of scrolling, which is what we're doing on our phones, but also in our brain, instead of starting a task and stopping, and starting a new task and stopping, and starting a new task and stopping. Listen, that might have worked in your 20s. It probably didn't. It might have worked in your 30s. I doubt it did. But just in case it did, in our 40s and our 50s, our brain is working differently. Our brain is firing on a level that says, are you insane? Do you want me to do all these things at once? I can't. My hip hurts. That's for me. My hip hurts lately. It may be saying I'm hot. I need to actually fan right now because I'm having some kind of weird summer moment. The thing is that giving your brain, working along with your brain, working in synergy with your body and your bodily changes will do a lot for you. So are we really talking about the phone? No. But the phone could be a distraction for you. You know, in midlife, by the time you get to your 40s or 50s, you've got a lot of things going on. You already have disruptions happening. You probably have grown kids. I've got grown kids. You probably have a full-time job and or you're transitioning out of a job to start something new, maybe an act two for yourself. I've done that too. Maybe you're in a long-standing marriage. I've done that. And there are demands. Maybe there's grandkids. No, I don't have that yet. Maybe you have grandkids and you're also trying to give them attention, or maybe you have college students, right? And you're trying to figure out how do you manage all of this? And your doctor told you your high blood pressure is up. That's if you went to the doctor. Oh, and you may be saying, I think I felt a lump last month, and you're worried about that. So there are real things happening. We're not discounting that real things are happening. The thing is, how many boxes are you closing versus how many boxes are you opening? If you find yourself continuing to deal with things just a teeny, teeny bit at a time, it may be time to stop walking away with disruptions and actually manage the hard things. One of the things that I found in my 40s into my 50s is that distraction, dealing with things that are funny on TikTok or Instagram, were a lot better than dealing with the fatigue I had. Many times, as opposed to going to bed, we'll pick up the phone. We want to laugh a little bit. You don't know that your nervous system is saying, I want to relax. And what you're doing is you're going back to what makes sense to you. And I want to jump to this topic because this is something we're all doing. The world is getting to be so crazy that we just want to sit back and relax a little bit. And this is at our fingertips, right? But you know what also is at your fingertips? A deep breath. It's closer than your phone. You do a few of those. Set it on your watch if you need to. Notice I don't wear an Apple Watch. I don't wear a smartwatch. I used to. It was bothering my body. And so, as much as I loved it, I had to say, let me close that box. Let me stop trying that right now. And let me try something else that was more helpful for me. What is that thing for you? So many times we aren't willing to make the changes we need to make. We don't want to put the phone down. We don't want to put on do not disturb, not just for our phone, but for the people that we need to put them on do not disturb. Do not disturb is not just for your phone or your watch. Just saying. Do not disturb many times is for the people that are disrupting your peace. And so what you need to do is put them on do not disturb every once in a good while. Right? When you're tired, what do you run to? It may be food that's a distractor for you. It may be the phone, it could be entertainment. Lately, when I'm feeling tired but not sleepy, I draw a little bit. And typically, I try and do that without any other stimuli. When I first started, I was doing the drawing, this is back in November, along with watching Netflix. Something corny, something that didn't really hold my attention. Then I said, okay, no more Netflix. Let me start just listening to a book. Love Libby, go to the library, get a book. But that piques my interest. So I stopped doing that. And now I might listen to a little light music or silence. The thing is to start shutting the boxes down. The thing is to get yourself to stop being fried so often. It's interesting. When I first started this podcast today, um, I got distracted because pieces of hair were all over my shirt. Maybe they still are. I'm trying not to be distracted by that. And I realized that sometimes the things that we're distracted by, the things that are keeping our brains on overload or keeping us thinking all the time, are practical things. Like you don't want to go out and have hair all over your shirt, or but then what happens is we start to overthink that. Is my hair falling out? If you're in your 40s, it might be. Do you want to do something about that, or do you want to just wipe it off your shirt and move on? How long do you want to keep that window open? How much attention do you want to give that in this hour when you're also supposed to be in a board meeting? Or if you're a coach, you're also supposed to be with a client. Small things are staying open and they're keeping you fried. Learn to close them. Learn to close them. Nervous system overload is not funny. In fact, next week, I think it's next week, Morgan and I will be talking about 3 really easy ways to bring your nervous system down. I think that's next week. I think that's on tap for next week. But if not, it'll be the week after. 3 simple ways, because we need strategies at this point. We need ideas. We need someone to tell us, what do we do? What do we do to shut all this stuff down? Why am I going to that anyway, as opposed to just dealing with what I want to deal with? Well, it happens. It happens. We don't want you to beat yourself up for it. Earlier in the podcast, I mentioned that my name is Chatone Morrison. I'm the Princess of Positivity. You see it on the screen. And all that means is that as opposed to allowing myself to spiral down, I decided over a decade ago I was going to find good ways of not spiraling. Don't you know that soon after I started that practice, things started to lift, and then there was always something trying to push me down, always trying to push me down. That's what happens to all of us. Or it may be a conversation you're supposed to have, and you don't want to have it because it's going to be difficult. There may be a relationship you need to deal with is disrupting your spirit. You don't want to do it. And so, you know what? You're fried by 4. You're fried by 4. When you find yourself doing, huh? Let me get on this phone. Let me play another game. Let me email 10 more people. Stop. What are the things that keep us from um, closing boxes? Like, what are some of the boxes that are open for you? And if you're in midlife, you're in your 40s, you're in your 50s, or you could be in your 30s, okay, if you happen to be stumbling upon this place and then getting to after, you may be a little bit younger. And these things I'm going to talk about do affect women of all ages. We talk to midlife women, but I want to talk to everyone who happens to fall upon this page. You may be in your early 20s and you may be dealing with this as well. So I wrote a couple things down I want to share with you today. So the very first thing is, if you're feeling unsettled often, if you find yourself feeling unsettled, like in your like in here, like you feel like something doesn't feel so good. I feel a certain way, right? Make sure you watch next week because we're going to talk about that as well. One thing that you can do is, of course, follow us here. We're here every Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern, and you can get some tapping in. Even if you're doing it just once a week, tap along with us. What if the issue isn't yours? Doesn't matter. What if you can't afford to join one of our tapping circles right now? First of all, they're very inexpensive. But if you're like, I'm not ready for that investment, at least invest in yourself enough if you have unsettled feelings to come to the podcast every Tuesday at 8 a.m. Come every week. We can help you at least get your week started. We're here on Tuesdays. We can get that week started so that you can, or if Monday was bad, you can restart. That's one of the reasons why we're on Tuesday, because Mondays sometimes get so busy. We will be here on Tuesday to help you recalibrate that. That's number one. If you're feeling unsettled, you can close that box by finding something. It could be therapy. It could be working with Morgan and myself with EFT. It could be doing different exercises. There's a lot of different things that you can do in order to to kind of work on that unsettled feeling. But you won't know how to do it unless you give yourself the time. That means you have to put a lot of stuff down in order to concentrate on what's needed. Here's number two, and this one's a tough one. And I feel like I wouldn't be able to speak honestly unless I was honest about this. I have talked many times about the fact that I do not like to go to the doctor, and yet I have all these chronic health issues. That's a problem. I don't like going to the doctor. Every time I go, there's 8 more tests they want to do. I've been carrying chronic illnesses since my very early 20s, and now I'm in my 50s. That means 30 years of difficult doctor's appointments, of tests upon tests, on surgeries upon surgeries. And so maybe you have that experience too, or maybe you just have white coat phobia. You have that box open somewhere in the back of your mind that you haven't had a physical recently. And that every once in a while you're at work and you feel your heart beating a little too hard, you take a baby aspirin. So the box is open. The nervous system isn't giving its top level attention, but there's low level attention being given to the point that you're not going to the doctor. Okay, close the window. Just call. I'm not saying you have to go next week. I promise you that your doctor probably doesn't have an opening. Many times, maybe the only time you give yourself that type of urgency is when you're sick, urgently sick, meaning that you have a bronchial problem, you're having problems with your breath, things like that. You're coughing up phlegm, whatever the case may be, and you're like, oh, I need an antibiotic. Then you couldn't want to go to the doctor. But for those low-lying things that have been open for a while, now it'll be okay. It may not be okay. I don't know. I'm not trying to scare you. That's why I said this is not a healthcare conversation, but make the call. That's all we're asking you to just make the call, sis. Make the call. Okay, number three, if you know you were supposed to do a test every year, say this for me in here. If you're in your 50s, it could be the colon. If you know you're supposed to schedule a test, but you don't want to do the test is awkward, irritable, you need a ride, it's going to take half a day, you don't have a half a day, you have to take a whole day, you may need to go into the hospital for half a day, whatever it is. So what happens is your brain knows you're supposed to do it. Somewhere deep in your nervous system, it's like, sis, why aren't you doing it? So there's a box open, there's a window open, you're tethered to something, and so you're going to do something else to get rid of that feeling. The feeling's still there. The body is still trying to tell you, will you please take care of this? So I'm just going to tell you, listen, pick a date, any date, and schedule it. Pick a date, any date, and schedule it. I used to talk about this all the time on Sunday Corner, my other show. One of the things we did once a year, I think it was the month of November, I can't remember now, I got to go back, was schedule everything we need. It didn't mean you had to go then, you just schedule. For me, October is my month. I typically, September or October, go ahead and get the breast exam, go ahead and get it done. It's very important for me to do that every single year because I've had issues. I've had biopsies, I've got markers in there, there's people have been all up and through there. And so I want to try and make sure I'm trying to stay alive, right? I don't want my nervous system worrying about something that I could manage. Can I manage if something's wrong in there? No. But what I can manage is, do I know? So I'm saying, okay, here's another one. Another one is the conversation you're supposed to have been had. And look, I'm using slang that you should have been had. That conversation, you just avoiding that, right? You don't want to take care of that. Yeah, you need to take care of that conversation. It could be that it's going to be a tricky one. Maybe the person that you have the conversation with has a little bit of a volatile personality, or when you have to approach them on something that's not in their favor, they get really upset. Okay, they're in your life. I'm not going to question that. You need to have the conversation. There's a box open. There's a window open, and you're doing something else to distract yourself away from. You probably don't even remember you need to have the conversation. It's something you think about every day. One of the things that I told a friend recently, not coaching, just friendship, we're just talking, is when you're going to have one of these difficult conversations and you're nervous about it, this is a great use of your phone. Open your recorder app. Listen, this is what I do. Open your recorder app and record yourself. You're not going to play it with them unless it's a very intimate relationship. You actually could play the conversation. You could say, listen, honey, if you're married, so listen, honey, I've been really worried about something. and I didn't know how to talk to you about it, or something's really been bothering me. I wasn't sure how to discuss it with you. And so I recorded it. It's better than a letter sometimes, especially if you have the mental fortitude and the bravery to sit there through the conversation and not just relinquish it. It's a great way. Use your phone. It's also, if you decide not to, that's a great way to prep, to hear back for yourself. What am I actually feeling and thinking? So that you can navigate that conversation with less stress. Once you record it, now all you have to do is do it. You're one step closer to closing that window, to not allowing something that you can control to distract you. I've got two more for you, and this one is a big one. It's a bill. It's a bill. You know, when we first started the month of April, we were talking about how at the beginning of the year, maybe you said, "Oh, I'm gonna spend less, I'm gonna do less, and I'm gonna work on this bill or this debt I have, whatever it is." And now it's April and you haven't done it. We begin toward the end of April and you haven't done it yet. So inside of you, you feel a certain way, especially every time you swipe that card again, or when the bill comes and you're still paying the minimum payment. Do what you can. Always do what you can as much as you can so that you can feel more settled. Maybe that's doubling the pay. Maybe it's just doubling the minimum payment. Okay. It's something. It's something. Think about it. Set a date where I want this to be paid for. Set the date again. Maybe you said it before and you didn't live up to it. Okay. Set it again. Aren't you worthy of that? You are. You are. And one more. We'll just add one more. We'll add another little health one in, right? So you know that daily you're going to a certain Crown coffee spot and you're drinking not only one, but maybe you're drinking two frappuccino, latte, whipped cream, caramel, sprinkles, whatever. Okay. I can't even talk about it because I don't drink that. And so I don't really know what all the things are. I've seen it. But you promised that when you feel a certain way, you're not going to eat certain things. And yet every time you drink that, you feel the sugar rush to your head. You feel your heart because the caffeine is doing something for you. But you're like, I gotta have, like, I'm gonna stop. It sounds like an addiction, right? I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna do something differently. Or maybe it's not that. Maybe it's another thing that you deciding that you were going to consume differently for your body's sake. And your body's saying, yes, so about that promise you made, right? And so what we do when we start to feel guilt or even shame about certain things we're doing, we'll distract ourselves quick. We don't even know. That's why the phone's being picked up so often, many times. Now, there's other reasons as well, but sometimes it's literally to distract us from the feelings that we're having because we're not dealing with the things that we promised ourselves we would deal with. We're not starting the things we promised ourselves we would start. We're not stopping the things that we promised ourselves we would stop. And we're saying, well, I'm in midlife, I have any choices. No, let me drink some more water because that's one of mine. You could journal. We talked about a lot of different questions today. You can make sure you grab the journal from us. And this is where you put down your thoughts and feelings so that you have something to tap on later. You know what you need to tap on. We talked about a lot of stuff today. I did create a tapping specifically around some of the things we talked about, but you can always substitute in what your challenge is so that you can get the most out of the tapping. This is your first time tapping with me, tapping transformations are how we practice emotional freedom technique here at Getting to After. And what we're going to do is we're going to be looking to neutralize certain feelings to help you release things. And so, one of the things we do is we allow a negative and a positive to exist together because they always do. It's just that we always give attention to the negative. And so, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of acknowledge both. And we did a lot of that today by me sharing my list with you. And hopefully one of the things was on the list. Maybe it's one of the things you need to manage and it'll be help you to shut down some of your mental load. But before we get into the tapping, I'd like you to do is kind of plant your feet firmly on the floor. If you think about some of the things that might pull you in a direction, pull you toward your phone or pull you to certain distractions. Just kind of give yourself a moment to kind of think about what they are. And while you do that, you can just kind of like settle yourself in your chair, or if you're standing, I want you to, again, kind of feel your feet on the floor. If you can take off your shoes, that would be good. Kind of wiggle your toes a little bit. Just notice where your heels are. Notice where your breath is. And we're going to take a long, slow breath in through the nose, and then even a little bit longer out through the mouth. So one way I like to do that is to breathe in for 4 and blow out for 6. And so it's not something you have to think about 1, 2, 3, 4. Just see, maybe 4 and 6, those numbers may be too much for you. Pick something that works, but try and breathe in for a certain amount of time and breathe out longer. So we're going to go with 4. Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. I'm going to try one more time. Breathe in through your nose. This time, hold it at the top for a little bit, and then out through your mouth. Here's a little hint for you. Try that. And again, we're going to talk a little bit more about this next week. Try that, because you'd be shocked about how much just a little breath like that will change things for you. All right. So now what I want you to do is I want you to kind of think about the things that you've been pulled to, and just setting them aside. Think about maybe 3 things that are on your mind that are already carrying you from last night into this morning. And I want you to physically, well, not physically, but figuratively, I want you to put them in a little box, put them in the box, and I want you to put a lid on the box. And then I want you to tie a little bow on the box because it's important, but I want you to put the box on the shelf. We're just going to move this away from you for a few minutes. Can you do that? Just for a few minutes. We're going to move it away, and we're going to get into some tapping. Take a little breath into your nose and out through your mouth. And we're going to go ahead and get into this tapping transformation. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to use this karate chop point. You can use these 3 fingers or these 2. I'm going to say something and you can repeat after me. You can do it out loud in a whisper. You can do it under your breath. You can just watch me tap. You can just tap along. There's so many ways for you to get benefits from this tapping transformation, especially if you notice you've been in avoidance mode. You notice yourself having kind of carrying a mental load, or you notice lots of figurative or sometimes literal boxes or windows being opened in your environment. Let's see what we can do about that today. Even though I keep reaching for my phone, even when I don't need it, I'm willing to notice what I'm actually reaching for. I'll say that one again. Even though I keep reaching for my phone when I don't need it, I'm willing to notice what I'm actually reaching for. Even though I feel so fried by 4 p.m., and I blame everything except what I know is true, I'm open to discovering which mental boxes to close. And even though sometimes the phone, the iPad, the TV feels easier than sitting with how tired I am, I'm willing to reconnect to myself. Okay, take a deep breath in. And now we're going to go ahead and start tapping through the points. Eyebrow point, this restless habit. Side of eye, this constant input. Under eye, this digital noise. All these distractions. Under nose, this avoidance. Chin, this half-finished feeling. Collarbone, this mental clutter. Underarm, I have a wired exhaustion. All this exhaustion. Top of head, all these open boxes. Eyebrow, I'm holding way too much. Side of eye, my shoulders are tense. All this tenseness. Under eye, all that I've been avoiding. Under nose, the doctors, the tests, the conversations. Chin, this unfinished business. I keep carrying all this unfinished business. Collarbone, I'm weighted down with thoughts. All this weight. Underarm, I'm wired and I cannot rest. Top of head, but I deserve to. I want to. Let's do one more round and release some of this that's come up. Eyebrow. Who said I have to open everything at once? Side of eye. Maybe I can follow through on one thing this week. Under eye. Noticing my belly relax when I follow through. Under nose. It's safe to know what I've been avoiding. I can face it. Chin. It's safe to rest when only one thing gets done. Just one thing is enough. Collarbone. I can be undone and still feel worthy. I can feel undone. I am still worthy. Underarm. I give myself permission to breathe through this boundary. Top of head. Quieting this mental load. Quieting this mental load is peace. Okay, stop tapping. Notice how you feel. Notice if you're feeling anything inside your body. Maybe you feel like yawning, maybe your eyes are tearing, maybe you have chills in some way. You may even burp, you may feel air in your tummy. You may feel your tummy rumbling the way it does when you're hungry. You're not hungry, or you could be, but you're probably not hungry. It's your body releasing energy. So just sit quiet for a moment and notice what that is. And let's take a deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. I want you to do that 2 times. In through the nose, out through the mouth. And this time, when you do in through the nose, we're going to breathe out with our mouth open, and you're going to hear the sound. Let that sound come out in through the nose. Out through the mouth. Ah. It's a different feeling, isn't it? It comes right from your belly. It comes all the way through. And now it's really powerful. Let's finish up with an affirmation. I deserve peace. I deserve peace. I am willing and able to release my mental load so that peace can be welcomed. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I hope that this episode resonated with you. I hope that if you notice that you're always picking up your phone, give yourself a little moment to think about why are you doing it before you scroll to the next thing, before you move on to the next thought. What is it that you're not closing? Write it down. Write it down. Write down the things that are staying in the back of your mind open that you haven't been dealing with. And the next time you pick up your phone, let it be for something intentional. Maybe you need to make a phone call, text your kids, call your mom. Maybe you need to check in with your boss or with someone that you love. Or maybe it's time to play a little game to just offset your mind. That's okay too. But know what you're avoiding so that you can attack it head on and go ahead and get to after. My name is Chatone Morrison. Again, I am the Princess of Positivity. We're here every Tuesday to do tapping, to talk, to make this a haven for midlife women. And if you don't yet have our magazine, in the description box below, I'm going to make sure you have the link to get our magazine, Getting to After. It's a beautiful place for midlife women, not just to talk, tap, transform, and to feel like there's a safe haven, but also for you to help us support women who are survivors and in transition from domestic violence, because that's what our magazine and podcast do. I hope you're having an amazing day. Don't forget to come on back here next Tuesday at 8 a.m. Eastern. Hopefully I'll be back with my girl Morgan, and we'll see you then. Take good care.